Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Flames Unfiltered with your hosts Brad Burud and myself, Kyle Lewis. Groundhog Day yet again, is it not?
Was it today? I didn't even pay attention. Really? Seriously?
Oh, no, I don't think that it was. I'm just saying this is what it feels like, because every week it's the same situation, it seems.
Yeah, you're totally right on that. You know what? Is Groundhog Day's got to be close, though, isn't it? Not that I ever pay attention to that.
Oh, yeah, it was on my calendar. It's February 2nd.
I missed it by that much. I didn't even hear about it.
Oh, I think there's a lot. Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of. I think what the indication we got up here was we got a little ways to go with winter, but I don't pay too much attention to it.
I think we got a long ways to go where I'm at, but isn't that funny? I think that's Groundhog Day. That's something you actually cared about when you were a kid. Like you actually paid attention to it. And now as an adult, you're just like, I missed it by over a month, or no, a week, I guess. A week.
Yeah, that was a good movie too, eh? Bill Murray, remember that one?
Yeah, that was a good movie. I like. You know what? I like a lot of things he's in though.
Yeah, me too. I haven't actually watched a good Bill Murray movie in a while.
I haven't either.
Well,
I watched Caddyshack, I guess, last.
There you go. Well, we don't really have a whole lot else to watch unless, other than, of course, the Four Nations tournament in Montreal and Boston. But I'm
not feeling it. I'm not too excited for the Four Nations. I don't know. Maybe I'll get excited once it's on. I need a break, though. This Saturday night's game broke me.
I was in Montreal and was not watching. So, from all I saw and heard was good that I didn't see it.
It broke me. It did. It broke me, and I'm trying to try to through this pod not make it sound like the season is over, but I felt like Saturday night might have been the start of the end for the season.
Yeah,
I don't know. Am I jumping to conclusions over losing 1 point? But you know what? Honestly, I didn't like our play all week. I thought we were awful against Toronto. I thought we were brutal against Colorado. And Seattle, I thought honestly, I thought in the start of the third period, even 5 minutes into the third, I'm like, we're pretty much in control here. I said to myself, Wolf has struggled lately, and a shutout would be really nice going into the break.
You sound like me.
And just for sheer confidence and attitude. Like so much of this sport, I guess, Kyle, so much of life, right, is just based off your attitude, right? And we're all going to have our days where we're down or things are going to be dragging us and whatever. And I kind of felt like that. Wolf has lost 5 games in a row, and I'm not saying he's played bad because he's made some hellaciously good saves, but wins are wins, right? That's what we judge things on, and it's not just him; it is the team. But I felt like for his personal confidence, getting a shutout heading into the break would be great, And then, geez, things unraveled. And I'm not pinning this loss on him by any means because there was so much more to it than that. I think he might have maybe wanted to have the second goal back, but you know what? It's not pinning on him. It was a full team collapse there, and it sucked. It sucked to watch, and it made me have a shitty feeling in my stomach this morning when I thought about the Flames.
Well, they basically, and this has been talked about at length, they got absolutely smoked by teams with, scoring prowess, superstars, the things that Calgary doesn't have. And it wasn't close in either case with the Colorado or Toronto games. It's really hard to watch because Calgary has a lot of good players, and there's a lot of this talk about, but the defense was badly exposed. Wolf, obviously, at his age, and he's going to have nights where he's not great. Like, he can't steal every game, and he's done so much of that this year, right?
I'm not pinning this on him. And I guess my point more so is, and I hear all these people talking that he's tired and stuff, and I don't think he's physically tired at all. I think it's more of maybe a mental fatigue that sets in on a young goaltender when he's been getting the bulk of the work now for the last 25 games.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Yeah.
And deserve it. Yes, right. Totally deserve it. But it's a different challenge for a rookie, right? It's a different light on you, right? And I think for the most part, if I had to give him a grade, it'd be a great grade because I think he's done a really good job of handling it. I think a lot of us are so focused on the Calder and what the future brings with his play, that we're putting this, the team protected him really good with his starts, and I think they had to give him a little bit longer leash because he earned it, right? And I think he's done fine. I just feel like sometimes against these, like especially against Colorado, I just felt like the team just was not there for him, and his defense has been atrocious. And I think that's probably maybe where we need to point our finger more than on Wolf. And I'm not. I don't know. Our expectations are just so huge for that young kid, and because he's been playing so damn well, he's given us those expectations, right? So I don't blame him on this. This team's 4-5-1 in their last 10. They've lost 4 in a row at home, and there is a lot of reasons for that.
Well, I think one of the biggest glaring issues or absences rather has been Kevin Ball. He's a huge part of the defense, but also the guys that have, been playing all along, they really got to wear this one. I'm talking about Uyghur Andersson in particular. Neither one's, I would say that Braden Pahal's probably been our most consistent defenseman of late. Ilya Solovoyov, I think, thankfully was recalled and was very good when he played.
Did you like him on Saturday? I liked him on Saturday.
I very much liked him. He was very smart, conservative. I think he played a very smart hockey game. But the reality is this is where I struggle too. So the team has not put together a meaningful win streak since the start of the season. There's some better stretches, but ultimately, there's a lot of the narrative seems to be focused on, Dustin Wolf elevating this team to a level that it probably, even despite the fact we're not great, we're a lot better than people feel we should be. And what I struggle with is that people are using that in certain discussions as an excuse for saying like, oh, it's all good. We're a year ahead of where we're supposed to be. Like, you can't look at it like that. This team, in my opinion, has been competitive most of the year. Now they're getting dummied by, superstar players and stacked offensive teams. But the reality of the situation is the team is where they are in the standings. The prerogative should be to continue to try and win games, to try and make the playoffs, get some playoff revenue, get some playoff experience. That's the game that they play. So I don't buy into this narrative of, oh, they're ahead of where they should be. Okay, the Buffalo Sabres, as you often point to, right?
I do.
So we can't keep looking at this as a 5-year plan, a 2-year plan, a 4-year plan. It doesn't work like that at all.
I don't think you can. I agree with you. I don't think you can put a time frame on it. The one thing I will push back, and I think me and you've talked about it before, is I think Wolf has pushed it forward. I don't know the time frame, but knowing now that we have a goalie that can play as well as he can, I think has pushed the narrative forward. I don't know that we can say it's a year or 2 years, because it's all dependent on adding the pieces we need to keep moving this forward. Are we ahead of where I thought we'd be come Four Nations break this year? Yes. And I think that's something that we should celebrate, as much as I'm frustrated right now with the last 10 games. But I still think this team is moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think so too. I guess at the end of the day, again, this belief, and yes, the odds are much higher that you're going to draft that player that you need, or players you need in like the top 10. Like, I get it, but ultimately the team is more competitive than we thought. They need to figure out some things along the way. I think they made a really good trade with Philly. I think both those guys have been good. Frost especially has been really good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're ahead of where we thought we'd be. But I don't, again, the narrative around this plan, it's like Connor is acquiring the pieces that he feels can help the team win. And so far, every piece he's acquired has seemingly done that, right?
I feel like, I maybe when I look back and all the moves he's made, and he's made a ton. Like, I mean, the Bean signing probably doesn't look that great right now. The Miramonov signing doesn't probably look that great right now. But quite honestly, neither one of those two are killing us or anything like that. The Ball signing or the Ball trade for Markstrom, Ball was considered a write-off in that, and look at what he's been for us. You look around at all the other things, that the pieces that he's filled, and quite honestly, I think we need to be pretty darn happy with where we're at. Do I like the direction we're heading? Because right now, if me and you were sitting in Vegas having a beer and we had to place our money if the Flames are going to make the playoffs or not, sitting here looking, seeing 3 points back of Vancouver now, and 7 of the 8 teams that are in the playoffs we have no prayer of catching. I I'd say our odds are pretty low.
I guarantee they've dropped significantly on Money Puck of late.
Yeah.
Significantly.
But I still think that we need to, like, I think it's important to keep the pedal to the metal and keep working to try to create that winning environment and create and move forward. And I think it's going to help with Zari and Ball both coming back. Hopefully, Ball, I would say I'd project that he's back to the start of at the end of the Four Nations break, and I would say Zari would be darn close too, and that's going to be huge.
It is. I mean, it doesn't. Well, unless Zari has
problems.
But it should help a lot at least in terms of Zari, because he has some new players to play with that I think are still just getting comfortable, right?
I agree.
It's just, I think at this point the hope or the expectation should be that the Flames are going to come out of this break better. I have to believe Michael Backlund's banged up because he's been not good at all of late.
That's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Kyle. Why are people being so freaking hard on him? He is obviously hurt. And quite honestly, probably shouldn't have played a couple games, but he's a gamer and he's going to give it everything he's got. But why have people turned so quickly on a guy like him? Are they not understanding that the guy's hurt? I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I would think. I think part of the frustration is watching us hemorrhage points in the standings, and also the fact his reputation is one of such a reliable player. And typically in hockey, due to conditioning, off-season, et cetera, you don't have a drop-off in the season. If he's going to drop off because of age or, because of any of those factors, it's going to happen in the following season, right? Like, he didn't just forget how to play hockey or lose a step or start taking dumb penalties or whatever. Like, there's something going on, but I think when he's your most reliable guy and you can't even count on him, that's going to feed some of the vitriol towards him. I don't necessarily agree with it either, but I can tell you, like, watching these games, it's like, holy Lord, Bax, like, are you kidding me? And there's another one I want to ask you about this. All this talk about the possible Andersson extension. Let's talk about another guy who's not met expectations at all lately. I just have a very simple yes or no question. Would you re-sign this guy right now? Yes or no?
You're not going to make me do yes or no on this because I need to know how much.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not re-signing him at all.
Okay, I'm gonna preface this by saying I would re-sign him, but I'm not gonna sign him at what I know he's gonna ask for. He's gonna ask for $9 million, and there's no way I'm going near that. Because I
saw numbers like 7 to 8. 7 to 8. Are you talking then or no?
I'm talking at 7. I'm not talking at 8.
So let me ask you this then, and this is something of a rhetorical question, but I'm actually trying to figure this out as well. What makes this guy a $7 million defenseman?
Kyle, I'm going to be honest. I wondered and thought hard myself because I hear so many people talk about how great he is, and I think he's good. I do. I think he's good, but I have not liked his game for the last month and a half, 2 months. Month and a half. I have not liked his game at all. And, there been stages this year where I have? Yeah, I have. But I think what we're going to see this offseason, there's going to be a lot of talk of, well, the cap is going up to this. The cap is going up to this. And people are going to ask for way ridiculous dollars. Way ridiculous. And honestly, I think that we as a franchise need to be smart and do a little bit what Colorado did. And it's like, all right, here's the limit we can go on this guy. And if he's not willing to be in that range, then it's better for us to get the assets and utilize those.
Yeah. Well, especially when his reputation is such of like a star defenseman in the league. Because I respectfully, I just don't see it. The guy had one big year when everybody in Calgary had big years.
Yep.
I don't see him, defending like Nick Lidstrom. I don't see him, using his body even the way that Braden Hall does. Not that I want that from him, but I'm trying to identify the intangibles and the skills that people see in this player.
Offensive upside, I don't think.
No, not at all. He's had lengthy scoring droughts this year, whether it's primary assists, goals, you name it. Like I don't understand, especially with all the defensive prospects we have in the pipeline, and they take a while to develop, mind you. But I just don't understand where this market value is being created. Like who's the comparable for Rasmus Andersson that's worth that kind of money? I don't know who it is.
He is I thought about that too. He is a hard guy to find a comparable on, isn't he?
If I'm Craig Conroy right now, like I am not touching an extension for this player, like nowhere near it.
So then that begs me to ask you this then, like, do you move him now and get maximum assets?
That's where it gets tricky too. And now I'm going to sound like a hypocrite because it's like, well,
because if you move him right now, whoever you move him to is going to get 2 years of playoffs on his salary, on his lower.
Yeah.
And that's worth a ton. So your asset return would be humongous, right?
You'd think.
Well, I would think it would be pretty good based off what the analysts are all saying about him. Like, yeah. I think he's going to ask for big money, and I 8.5 plus, I think. And I'm not willing to go there, right? So I'm not writing this team off. This team's 3 points out of play spot. Do I think they're going to make it? It's a pretty low percentage chance. So right now, what I would do if I was Craig Conroy is I would make a move to move Nazem Kadri out, albeit I know he's our best offensive player right now, and he's been great this year, and I have zero complaints on him this year. 0. Mm-hmm. But right now is the only time that that other teams are looking at him as a asset that's gonna reap rewards, which if he struggles even next year, they're gonna look at him and go, look at his age, look at his salary. We're not touching that. This is our chance to move him and not have to sell the farm to do it. We need to act on that now.
It's not happening. It's just not happening.
I know, but it is. And I think you're right too. Maybe you do it with Andersson too. But boy,
Conroy's basically said he's not moving these guys. As we've all seen and heard. Now, it's interesting because somebody brought up the other day on X about the 2015 team, and they were sellers and still made the playoffs.
Glencross, right? We sold Glencross.
Yeah, to Washington.
If you sell, Kadri is a hell of a lot better than Glencross. So if you sell a Kadri and an Andersson, boy, you're not making the playoffs.
No, I mean, unless Dustin Wolf goes on heater and you acquire some players back to the player team right now, they're better than you think they're going to be right away. That's about it.
Am I too negative to say I don't know that we're making the playoffs with Kadri and Andersson? So hey, let's get the assets.
No, I agree. I think that's a great way of looking at it because that's probably the smart thing to do, quite frankly.
And Kyle, I've said it to you 100 times. I want to make the playoffs. I think playoff experience is invaluable, right? But I just don't see it. I look at how we've played against some of these better teams, and I don't see it. I look at our schedule coming out of this break. Have you looked at it? It's like a freaking gauntlet from hell here.
That's not. Well, I did look at it, and I want to look at it again because it's brutal.
We're at home for San Jose, and then we go on a 6-game road trip: Washington, Tampa, Florida, Carolina, Philly, and Dallas. Good luck. What do you get? 4 points, 3 points out of that? You're happy?
Well, happy is a strong word in this case, Brad.
4 points? I don't know. Huh, that's a hell of a run. That is a hell of a run.
Well, you know what? The good news is that we should have a healthy roster, and I hope the guys. I know, Uyghur's going to Cancun or something. I hope everybody hits the bike a few times between now and the end of the break, and we'll see what the team's made of.
I heard that the first week there's no requirements on whatever, but the second week they're back in Calgary for skating.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That's what I've heard.
And I'm all for a break, but the guys got to come back ready to go, and that includes everybody in this roster, even the ones we perceived as playing relatively well of late. I think Zari coming back, and I expect he will play as soon as the Flames are back.
I would think so.
I really think he gives their forward ranks a really interesting look. It doesn't solve the other problems, though, one of which is the fourth line still, because we have not, apparently, as we talked about before, we've not made any effort to fix that. Well, I shouldn't say we made any effort. They changed the lines up a bit. But I'm going to zero in again here on Kevin Rooney because I am just done with that experiment. It's not working. He should not be playing in the NHL. We're done.
You're not the only one thinking that.
Well, it gets to a point where it's it's job performance, and we've all been in that situation where you can do better, or should be doing better, or this isn't working out. This is not working out. This guy should be on waivers yesterday. I don't want to hear about a lack of fourth line options, because you could take anybody else, give them that opportunity, and they're going to make something more of it, however little. That's how bad it's been.
Can I throw a fourth line option at you?
Go ahead.
I want your opinion on this. I was sitting down today at my desk during a little 2-second break I had today. I didn't have a lot of breaks. I was sitting here looking at the depth chart, and I think we need to get rid of Rooney, and I agree with you. But I was thinking, how about this for a fourth line? How about you have Pospisil centering Lomberg and Hunt? I like Dryden Hunt. I do. I think he's a decent fourth line player. And then on the third line, you have Frost, Farabee, and Sharon Govich. You have Backlund, Coronado, and Coleman, and you have Kadri, Zari, and Huberdeau.
I really like Coronado playing on that top line, though.
I don't mind if you want to switch him and Zari, but I don't know what you gain or lose there. I think both of them are going to be fine in each of the roles. I think Coronado is great with Backlund and Coleman, and I think he'd be great. I mean, I don't think we need to find a perfect fit for Coronado anymore, because honestly, if he's on one of the top two lines, he's going to produce for us.
Oh yeah, he's proven.
I quit worrying about Coronado. I used to worry a lot about, is this guy going to pan out? I'm not worried anymore at all. I like what he's doing.
Hey, I had really high praise for him a year ago when he scored his first goal in Pittsburgh.
I know you've always been on his, and I've never been against him. I got a little frustrated with him last year because I didn't think his skating was real. I felt like he was just a step behind all the time. And this year, boys, he proven me wrong. He's been really good. His shot is lethal, and he busts his ass out there. And I'm a big fan of him now.
Yeah, I think his skating's gotten better. His shot is probably the best in the team. I used to give that distinction to Sharon Govich, but now I'm not so sure. The other piece of this, and I like, and back to your point about the lines you just suggested, I'm up for changing them anyway. And even though I know Kadri and Huberdeau has worked a lot better, we'll call it the second time around. It's probably more like the fifth or sixth, but I'm okay to separate those two, because I think they both have really strong seasons and can play well with anybody. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Huberdeau with Frost and Coronado, for example. That could be a deadly line, I think, especially when you get two guys that can shoot the puck like Frost and Coronado can. One other thing that I'm kind of done with, though, and I think this plays into that discussion of line changes, is I don't have any interest in seeing Michael Backlund on the power play anymore. I'm kind of over that.
I don't think we really need to. Okay, let me say this, though. All right, do you have any interest in seeing a healthy Michael Backlund on the power play? I think I think there's more to this, Kyle. I really do, because we both have been a fan of Michael Backlund. We watched him for a lot of years here. Yep. I can't help believe that the Michael Backlund we've watched for the last 2.5, 3 weeks is the Michael Backlund we're going to watch next month.
No, and I agree with that. It's not really his forte.
No, and I'd be fine. I think we have enough pieces now with the emergence of Farabee and Frost that we don't probably need Backlund in the second power play. I agree with you. I agree.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you can do, and I really should just write these down, because we actually have enough skillful players now. You can make 2 pretty good power plays of it.
Yeah.
Yep. Even more so on one of these D graduates, whenever it's Henry Muse or Brstavich or Perek or something, like there's going to be, because we still kind of lack that proper quarterback. Uyghur's been good at it at times. Andersson's been good at times, but neither one.
So here's another
really,
going back to our Andersson thing. Now, this is a guy that's tried to be we've tried to have him run a power play for 3 years now, and he's not succeeded at running a power play in 3 years, but yet he's going to want the big bucks. I don't mean to be picking on Andersson as much as we have this episode, but they're all comments that are real. I mean, they're real, right?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I've been, there's times it looks possible, but he's not. He's got a great shot, and he picks the spots well when he moves up, around the hash marks. That he picks the spots well, but he's not that elite passer you need in power play quarterback.
No.
I can't think of a single pass Andersson's ever made that made me think, wow, it's just
he threaded that one through right on the tape. I know what you're saying. I mean, and I'm not saying that he's been horrible or anything. I think he's been adequate.
No, not at all.
I think he's been adequate, but he's not getting the praise that he the price has maybe been a little overinflated. And it'll really be interesting. And I'm not too big in this Four Nations, but I am going to kind of really watch him in that against and with all these elite players and see if he jumps off the page at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to see the performance matching the reputation. And I don't think we've seen that since the early part of the season, quite frankly.
I agree. What did you did you have any thoughts on I don't know, the dust up between Andersson and Kadri after the Leafs' fourth goal the other night?
I mean,
I don't know what they're saying to make of it, but
it's a little overblown. That's part of hockey. I mean, I think they could both stand to keep it a little behind closed doors, so to speak. But I also get it's heat of the moment. They were getting dummied by a team that just absolutely walked them. I mean, it was
bad.
It was really, really not pretty. But I mean, it shows that both of them care, which I think is great. But I mean, at the same time, I like to think they had a conversation afterwards to get on the same page, because
I'm sure they did. I'm sure.
And this break, I mean, especially with all the losing that's gone on lately, this break's probably the best thing for them, not just physically, but like get away from each other.
Hey, we all need breaks in life, right? From even the people we're closest to. I mean, we just do. That's just life, right?
Yeah, you get on each other's nerves. And I mean, especially when you throw in a negative losing culture like the Flames have had lately. And it's exposed a lot of things, which, people have talked about at length on X. Like, it's just Justin Wolf has been saving this team so often that we're now beginning to get a better picture of just how bad they really are against elite teams. And that's just, it's a cold hard fact. I mean,
yeah,
the Flames are a better team than people thought they'd be. The playoffs are still a distinct possibility, because I'm certainly not sold on Vancouver. And I mean, Elias Pettersson has continued to do nothing, even in the absence of JT Miller. Like that, I understand that Miller may have been a bit of an ass, which is, fairly well documented, but I'm certain to kind of see why he was so hard on Petey, because, man.
I think I know why, because Petey was softer than butter and didn't want to do what it takes to be a winner. And JT Miller probably is what the Canucks need more than anything right now.
Well, and it's difficult because, but not to go too far down the road, but Elias Pettersson is obviously, known league wide as an elite player.
Yeah.
But if Vancouver makes the playoffs, it's not because of him, unless he somehow figures it out. But, all that to say, Vancouver, I think, is just as precariously hanging on for their playoff lives as the Flames are. Yes, they have the 3-point advantage right now, but coming to this break, pound for pound, player for player, I don't think they're necessarily a better team than Calgary.
Yeah.
But
no, I agree. I agree. But yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about today, we've been talking a lot about Dustin Wolf, and he's pretty much, I think if we did a poll right now, he'd probably be listed as the MVP, right?
Of the team? Unquestionably. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that brings me to the X Factor, because I knew you wanted to talk about this. That's why I did it. Jamie Pringle. J-Dubs puts on their 2024-25 MVP as Dustin Wolf. Solid runner-up, Jamie Pringle. Now, he has had, during this, was it 4 in a row first period goals, or was it 3 in a row first period goals? 3 or 4?
I think it was 3.
3. And it's unreal how many times he's saved this team a goal, but yet we haven't been able to capitalize and win on any of those.
It's the only 2 guys that are saving goals for this team are Dustin Wolf and Jamie Pringle. So there you go.
One of the other reasons I wanted to talk about this is I was listening to a podcast, and I'd be damned if I can remember exactly which one it was, because I would love to give it the credit that it deserves for this. But they were talking about, I think it was The Sheet with Jeff Merrick. They were talking about instant replay of the video guys like Jamie Pringle and what they make a year. Do you know what the average salary for a video replay guy is?
No idea.
Between 90 and 100 and between 90 and 200,000. Which I thought, okay, that's not horrible, right? But I sit and I look at the amount we're paying these players.
Yeah.
And I sit and I look and I'm like, Jamie Pringle or Jake Bean? More important this year. I'm not trying to pick on Jake Bean. He's the first guy that came up on my thing, but I could probably name a bunch of guys. And I'm sitting here looking, these guys are getting 1.2 million, and Jamie Pringle's sitting over here going, hey, I'm saving us more goals than you guys are scoring. And I'm sitting here getting my measly, I mean, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how good of a job he's done, how quick and efficient he is in it, and how accurate he is. It's crazy.
It's a job that's far more important than any of us would have thought prior to this season, and certainly in the past. Like, yeah, he's directly responsible for at least a couple of wins this season, right?
For sure.
It's just one of the things that's going right in a season that's become so bipolar and chaotic, right? It's his consistency. It really is him and Wolf. That's a great X factor.
It's been a weird year to be a Flames fan because we've had some really lows, but we've had some really highs too, and some unexpected highs. I think, if we would have looked back to the beginning of the season and said, "Hey, at the Four Nations break, we're 3 points out of a playoff," you'd have been like, "Yeah, I'll take that." But knowing that we were 5 points ahead just 2 weeks ago, the 3 points looks pretty crappy right now and pretty disheartening right now. And that's the roller coaster of being a sports fan and being a Flames fan. And I'm not ripping on management for this or anything like that. I don't blame these owners who are spending billions of dollars every year that they want their team to be in the playoffs. It's right. I mean, we all want our businesses to be successful. And there isn't a script to build a team that guarantees you a Stanley Cup, or everybody would do it, right? It's just being a sports fan is like full of exciting times and full of disheartening, bang your head against the wall times. And that's where we're at this week. It was a rough week to be a Flames fan.
Yeah, we've talked at length about the weeks and how like the ups and downs. This is a more of a consistent down, I think, because we're entering this break, right?
Yep.
There's two things that really pop out to me as the reasons why this is so much harder. Entering this break, thinking, man, where we could have been, we could have just sat there for 2 weeks and looked every day at the standings and said, we're in the playoffs. Yeah. Every day we could have looked and just smiled at that. Well, now we can't. We're frozen on the outside for the time being. That's just so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate.
I know.
So, I said two things. What the hell was the other? God, I'm drawing a blank now. It was a really long day. Oh yeah, sorry. The other thing that's making this so difficult is that other than the game on the weekend, we got exposed so badly by Toronto and Colorado that it's caused everybody to go, we need a Matthews, we need a McKinnon, we need a Willie Nylander, which, that was tough too, because his dad played in Calgary with some success. And it's like, you see players like that who we were in trade rumors concerning several times in past seasons. So it's one thing to lose, but it's another to lose to teams that are clearly so much further ahead because they have the star power that you don't.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like, oh man, this is really tough. Really tough. And actually, there's a third thing, but it's not quite as important. But the third thing I'm going to point out is that it's really, really hard to watch the Leafs play in Calgary, and I've been there when it's happened because they take over the building, and it just ruins the whole game for me. I hate it.
Oh, it is bad, isn't it? I feel like, what's funny too, when you watch the Leaf fans in Calgary, they're more boisterous and they're, because it's a true Leafs fans. When you watch a Leafs play in Toronto, it's more quiet and subdued because it's just the rich people that can afford to go, right? It's cheaper for true Toronto fans to fly to Calgary and go watch the Leafs play, and that's why you get the boisterous, loud Leafs fans, and it irritates me so bad every single time. The only saving grace that I get is that I've watched the Leafs collapse so many times that I just think, holy cow, you have all these stars and you still can't put it together. See, that's just another example. I mean, and I'm not trying to make excuses for the Flames. I mean, just because you have those stars isn't like a God-given right you're going to win a Stanley Cup. I mean, it's still yet to be seen if Connor McDavid's going to be able to bring one to Edmonton. I just know, though, right now that the core that we have, we need – we don't necessarily need a generational player, but we need, another strong center and two more strong defensemen and some more consistency out of our bottom six to be a team that's viable in the National Hockey League as a contender. Now we had that 4 years ago, Kyle. I mean, it seems like 20 years ago, but we did have that.
It was 3 years ago.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We did have
I would amend your list further to say, I don't hear this much from other teams necessarily, we need a fourth line center.
We do.
We need a guy that can win faceoffs, that can be relied upon in the penalty kill. Yeah, that's a gaping hole, and that's a lot easier to find than the high end center, that you're referring to. But we need them both, and I agree on the defense side too. Like we talked about at length this year, I think we're two of the biggest Braden Pahal fans on the planet. Pahal's been fantastic. Uyghur's here for long term. Andersson's kind of up in the air, and I really, as you said too, would have not liked his game of late. Ball's a big piece coming back, but it still leaves 2 question marks. So
I think it's going to be really interesting here now. I'm so torn on what to do. I just feel like we have to act now on Kadri and Andersson. So we just have to develop a value that we really believe in and stand to it. And then if it's not going to happen, we need to gather our assets, right? Because you know what, you can turn those assets into other roster players that'll be impactful
and sooner than people think. But I think I gotta kind of amend my answer earlier concerning, you mentioned trading Kadri, and Conroy has said, he apparently, I guess he's told other teams that Kadri and Andersson are, not on the trading block.
Yep.
Quite frankly, if this shit continues, that will change. If Conroy's as good a GM as we've been led to believe to this point, and I think he's been very good, if the Flames come out of this break and lose 3 in a row, you got to look at every option to move these guys out, because clearly it's not working.
Well, let's look at that schedule coming up. I mean, if you don't get, that is 6 tough road games. If you come out of there with like 3 points, which is, I don't know, I hate to say it, but somewhat realistic there. I mean, I don't know. Then you have to do something, right? Then it's poor asset management if you don't, right?
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is.
The only way that I think Conroy wouldn't do something is if management tells him he can't. I don't know why they would do that, though. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not management, ownership would be a better term to use there. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. We'll see. It's going to be intriguing to see. And by no means, I know a lot of my talk has been sell this guy, get rid of this guy, gather assets. A lot of it's been that today. It's because of what's happened in the last 10 games, right? We're not going in the right direction. And right now, if you're not, and I'm not a tear down to the studs guy. We need to retool. We need to make the playoffs. But if you're not going to make the playoffs, you can't sit on assets that you're going to lose for nothing, or they're going to rot away and get old on you. We got to do something. We got to act on those.
Yep. Much sooner than later. I mean, again, if this continues coming, this break it's huge for every team, but I think for the Flames coming out of it, I think they're a tired group. They're a bagged up group, like we talked about. I think them coming out of this break, that first week after the break is going to tell us if they make the playoffs or not. In my mind.
Right. I agree completely.
And we've already, pissed away those two, the back-to-back games in St. Louis. That was absolutely atrocious. That set us back big time, I feel.
Those are 2 of the games I'll look back on in this year of that.
I think about them all the time. It was awful. And, here we are again after giving away points on Saturday and the 2 prior games that we've talked about at length. It's like, man, I don't know. They got to come out of this break and just, go on a heater, and you couldn't ask for a worse lineup of games to try and do that against. Now, granted, teams often play up against their competition. Clearly, that didn't happen against Colorado, Toronto, but coming to the break,
Calgary,
man, I don't know.
Calgary used to be really good at doing that. Really good. We would lose to Chicago and we'd beat Winnipeg. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yep. Crazy is a good word for it.
15 days. We don't play again till February 23rd, Sunday. San Jose comes to town, and then the team goes out on that disastrous 6-game road trip. Yeah, a lot's going to be determined.
Yep.
One thing I would like to thank, we got some new followers on X: Zach Nelson, Ryan Gagne, Danielle, Feel Good Hockey Club, and Lauren Stewart. Thanks for giving us a follow on X. We are on there every day talking Flames hockey. Next week, Kyle and I are back, special episode, and it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to talk about some historical Flames things. We're going to talk about, I'm not sure which one we're doing next week. We got a whole list of different special episodes that we're going to do, but Kyle and I are going to be back. We'll be a lot happier next week because we aren't talking about Flames losses or anything like that. We got some fun Flames stuff to talk about. We'll back to normal shows February 25th, but we're there next week. Same day, we'll drop an episode on Tuesday next week, and then back to normal day in and day out Flames Hockey Talk on February 25th. I hope everybody enjoys the break. I hope that by the time the break is done, we're missing hockey and ready to watch it again, because this will probably be very healing for all of us, right?
Yes, and also bear in mind during this time there is no roster freeze. So
nope.
Maybe some things happen.
And heard rumors today that there is talk and things are heating up, especially in Montreal. So we'll see.
Well, they've been. Hey, I was there on Saturday and they were atrocious, and they were atrocious again on Sunday. So we're not alone, at least.
We aren't alone. So, yeah. Al, I know you're on your way to play hockey. Appreciate your time. I appreciate all listeners' time. We both love doing this each and every week for you, and hopefully, Flames fans, you get some rest, relaxation. We're back next week talking Flames hockey. Also, have a good week, Flames fans. Talk to you soon.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames Hockey Talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.